Hey guys, my name's Mike McBride and with Skinny Water Ventures in Port Mansfield. Jason's caught me over here at the tackle aisle looking at his plastics and asked me to say little words of wisdom about what we're doing with his baits down there, what we're catching or what we're really throwing. And I do have something to say about that. For the most part down there, we've gone to this, the TTK2, the split tail bait, as opposed to the single tail for a lot of reasons. Number one, we like it real well. It's a very buoyant bait, and you put a little 16th ounce weight on there, you've almost got a corky. And I like the split tails on it. They just don't quite spin as much as some of the single tails do. You know, great baits, no doubt about it. We've all got our personal preference, but no doubt about it. I'm going to these. They're just a little more buoyant. A lot of the guys like these, but we've all got our personal preference. And we're doing something else kind of neat. I get guys come down all the time, Captain, your lure's upside down. Well, we're rigging these things upside down. We're doing it on purpose. Of course, I'm going to open one of your packages, Jason. All these baits are round on the top with a flat side on the bottom, basically. And what we're doing, we're rigging them this way. On the bottom, it's got text and it's got a seam in there you can see real well. So when you put your jig head on, it's really important to get it just dead and that straight as you can get it. So we're using this seam to line it up, and where it says trout killer, which this bait is a trout killer, if you put that little 3/0 shank hook right through where it says O in the trout, you know that you're dead stick straight on. Your bait will do what it's supposed to do. But these are the baits we're going to, you know, just put it on and be done with it. We're using these darker colors for dark water. We're using something like this in clear water. It's called Sabine Machine or pumpkin seed chartreuse. When the water gets more off color, we're using this plum or just a morning glory black, I guess you call it black magic morning glory. So basically it's as simple as that. And Captain Trish is over there, and she's fixing to come up and mop up every one of these that they've got over here. This big minnow, and this one's called Texas shrimp. And between this one and this plum chartreuse, these are absolutely fling and forget baits. Throw it out there and work it, and then just hit it. So, all right, we got another question here. How are you working these baits? Can I say that's like asking about what's the best way to have sex? There's about 10 million ways to do it, okay? It's a personal preference thing. And the deal is you do whatever your quarry wants for the moment. But how you're working these baits is going to depend on what your fish are doing for the moment, whether they, you know, and you don't know that till you get out there, unless you're a really expert, and I don't know of any experts yet that can just predict it without throwing out there on them, seeing what they want. The fish are going to want it high on the water column, high and fast, mid-depth, or low. And a lot of the way you work them is going to have to do with what weight jig head you put on these things. A lot of times we don't put a weight on these things at all. We'll just put a straight hook in there. And you can work it real high with a lot of action on there if they want it high or they're real shallow. Golly, that's the one. Again, that's like asking about to have sex. There are so many ways to work a bait. Tricia, for example, she'll just use a straight retrieve. She'll just pull the slack out. The bait's coming up. This little nice little sexy dive coming up, and she's trying to cover a lot of the water column. I work them out a lot more little subtle twists. Bam, 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 bam. You just hop, hop, hop like a shrimp would, you know, with little subtle falls and keeping a tongue tag all the way down. But you start off covering the whole water column. You start eliminating water from high in the water column to deep until you hit your fish, and that's when you know where they are. Then you can adjust your retrieve. But mostly I'm just putting a lot of little twitches in there and reel at my slack. Twitch, twitch, let it fall, reel through slack. And there is no answer to this question, how do you work this bait? There is not an answer. That is what being an angler is all about, is going there and figuring it out. So there is no absolute answer to you work this bait like this to catch a fish. You have to see how the fish want it, and you can adapt to how they want it with the weight of your jig head. We're either using a no weight, a little bitty 16, an 8. An 1/8 is usually the most we use down there because we're fishing water less than 8 waist deep. But if we get off the spoil banks and there's current, we will go to a 1/4 ounce head. But if they want it slow, ticked off the bottom, we use a heavier weight, of course. In shallow water, we're usually using a 16th ounce bait. And a 16th ounce on this thing is the most beautiful little slow fall there is, but you can still cast it a mile. No, there is no answer to how you work this bait. I am sorry, guys. You just can't do this until you get in the water and throw on them. but it is a tool, and so as in all tools, we use it to do the job we need to do. So just figure it out.